Hello, I'm Dr. Lisa Belisle, and you are listening to or watching our video podcast, Radio Maine, where we explore and celebrate creativity and the human spirit. We are sponsored by the Portland Art Gallery in Portland, Maine. Today I have with me Billy Jack Goodwin. He is many things, but among them a program leader for the Port Resources AIM, which is Achieving Independence in Maine, Port Place in Portland, Maine. You're such an interesting person, Billy Jack. I don't even really know where to start. But first I'll start with thanking you for being here. Thanks for coming to our little island. So I guess I have to set the stage for people who would be like, how did you even meet this guy? Well, I was standing there at one of our Portland Art Gallery openings looking at a piece on the wall, and you came over and you're like, what do you think of this piece? Do you know if that artist is here? And I was like, I have no idea who this person is. He seems super friendly. And you and I just kind of struck up a conversation. I learned a little bit more about you, and I was like, wow, like you are really connecting to people through your creativity and your love of art. So talk to me about how you ended up in the Portland Art Gallery in the first place.
Well, I love art, and I love the Portland Art Gallery just in general. I've been a fan of art since I was a child. My mom used to take me to we come from Lewiston. I was born in Lewiston. And once a year, we would come up for the Sidewalk Art Festival, which was just kind of a big thing for us to come to Portland and go out to eat and then go see all the beautiful art. But I just love art in all forms. If it's spoken word, if it's performance, if it's painting, I just love art. As far as art in Portland, it's always been a part of my life. I've lived in the area, for the Portland area, for like 20 years. And art has always been a big part of our lives, me and my wife. We always go to all the First Friday art walks, and we just love to meet the artist. And after COVID, everything kind of shrunk down in the arts community a little bit because a lot of studios closed. But I feel like Portland Gallery and Cove Street and Green Hut, these beautiful galleries who have really excellent curators where they can move stuff every month, where you feel like everything's fresh and new and fun and clean. And it's just a beautiful place where you can go and just have a night of inspiration and look at this beautiful work and meet the artist. So, and that I bring that into my own personal work and my personal life. So I just really enjoy it and enjoy the community. So
one of the things that you talked about in the pre-work that we ask people to do, so that we get a little bit of background, is how you are very intentional about trying to keep yourself in a position of essentially being sort of upward. And the word positive gets kind of a bad rap these
Sometimes
days.
It does,
yes.
Yeah.
But being very intentional about showing up and being positive. Yeah. And I think this is particularly important for somebody who does the type of work that you do, because you've done a lot of nonprofit work.
30 years, it's been my whole life, yeah. And
you're working with very vulnerable populations, but they're populations that they don't need people feeling sorry for them.
No.
They need people to show up and be positive and to say, hey, we're all going to move forward in a really good direction together. So I guess let's start with the nonprofit piece. Why nonprofits? What type of nonprofit foci have you had over the years? Well,
I'll start with it's funny because I think I've carried shame with this when I was younger, but the universe loves me. The universe loves me. And I have a beautiful relationship with it. I was able to have conversations with the universe and kind of, not in a crazy kind of way, but just I always tell people, if you know me, I always talk about, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be here. I always have this feeling since forever that the only way I can explain it is like a train station, and the train is full, and I'm sitting at the train station, and the first class is full, and the economy is full, and maybe there's even people hanging out, and that train is leaving the station, and I'm totally comfortable that this train is leaving the station. And at the last second, someone said, oh, we got an extra ticket, and someone pushed me, and I entered that train, and I entered this world, and I've really felt happy and grateful my entire life. And it sounds kind of weird to say that, but I have wonderful parents, my mom and dad, who were older. They weren't expecting to have me. My brother is 10 years older than me. He's been a therapist for people in college. He works for Williams College in Massachusetts. My sister's a school teacher. And I just grew was born into a family of love. And the most important thing that they did was teach me how to give and receive love. And I think in my 30 years of working with people, I think this is where people struggle the most. And love is a powerful word, and I've seen it, especially in my work, twisted in multiple ways. But what it really is energy. How can you get energy from people? Positive energy. How do I give that out to people? How do I collect it? How do I use that to better my life personally and achieve all the little goals that I have in my life, but also focus it towards helping and uplifting other people? And if I focus on helping and uplifting other people, all these other things in my life just get enhanced. And it's just, I've always had this mentality, and I wish I came up with this by myself, but I was raised in this. My mother is just, I was raised by a wonderful woman and a wonderful father in a very interesting town of Lewiston, Maine at a very interesting time. And my mom was an emergency room nurse at CMMC for 40 years. She is like the nurse of nurses. She really was. And Lewiston is a beautiful town, the Beauty Lou, but it is sometimes, when I grew up, cartoonishly violent. And my mom is just a wonderful spiritual woman and a true feminist. Not in the way of she's like a hippie woman or she's just a beautiful spiritual woman who just gave her passion to her work and her life and her family. And when she wasn't doing that, she would give her work and passion to her church. And she would give her work and passion to the community of Lewiston. So I just literally grew up seeing this all the time. She's an amazing woman, and we can talk about that in a little bit. But also, I grew up in Lewiston, which is a very interesting town. And we could do a 10-part series just on the energy that Lewiston pumps out and the history of that town. But my life really circulated around a 4-block area of Lewiston, which is statistically the poorest area in New England. It's Sabbath Street, Union Street, College Street. Just a lot of poverty for years, for generations in that area. In that area is 2 places. One is Calgary Methodist Church, which was my mother's church. And next to it was a little tavern called the Blue Goose Tavern, which is a Bates bar, which was my father's church. So I just grew up with this very dichotomy of my father, who grew up in Lewiston, very tough, descendants of mill workers and railroad workers, and my mother, who's just this beautiful spiritual person, and somehow they met and created this beautiful family. So I was very lucky with that. The church, which I grew up in, is Calgary Methodist Church, and Lewiston is, when I was growing up, it was probably, the whole town was probably 75% Catholic and French. We have a beautiful basilica there, very Catholic town, and our little Methodist church. And I don't know and when I say church or growing up in the church, I think people have ideas about that, maybe negative ideas of just, my church experience was beautiful. No one ever hurt me. It was just a community of people from all walks of life who use the power of God and the conduit of the teachings of Jesus to do amazing things in their community. And I knew from a very early age that a call to worship is a call to service, and those 2 things work hand in hand. And it was just beautiful people doing beautiful work. By the time I'm 13, 14 years old, I see this, I acknowledge this, these people use the power of God to do wonderful things. But when I'm 13, 14, I'm not into Jesus. I don't even listen to my dad, let alone listening to Jesus. So it's so funny. I think I could have gone in multiple directions at that time. And as a teenager, I was kind of I got big very quick. So it's I was like Hodor from the Lord of the Rings, from Game of Thrones. I was just very big, very uncomfortable in my body, and very sad when I was a teenage kid. So it's amazing how life works, and how if a bad influence would have came into my life at that time, I don't know what would have happened, but the universe loves me and good things happen to me. So when I was looking for something, art came into my life as a teenager. And my brother, who's 10 years older than me, so he was already off to college by the time I'm having cognitive thoughts. I'm 8 years old, 9 years old. So I don't have a relationship with him as a child. We become friends as I become an adult. But he made me a mixtape when I was a kid. And my first job, I was working at Quality Market in Lewiston, Maine, 13, 14 years old, so stocking beer shelves. And I had this tape that my brother from college, he sent it from me. And on this tape was, this is going to sound like probably the most whitest thing you've ever heard on this podcast, but it was the Grateful Dead. And I just remember listening to it. And I remember for the first time hearing music that would fit who my spirit was. I couldn't have been a goth kid. I'm too big and redhead and smiley to be a goth kid. And I'm not tough enough to love rock and roll music. But that music was so artistically inspiring to me. And once you open up your world to stuff, people will come into that world. So the people who happen to love that kind of music are very nice, spiritual people. And I've never been much of a hallucinogenic or drug user. I really love the spirit of it and the art of it. So just beautiful people started coming to my life and teaching me new things and giving me books and philosophy. And back in those days, in the 90s, it wasn't like today where if you really wanted to get into it, you would have to put the effort in to learn about philosophy because it's not given to you like YouTube now. And for some reason, it really connected to me. And then my world starts getting bigger and I start meeting more people. And at the same time, my mother, who was just doing amazing work in the community, helped to open a shelter called Norwich House. So a little thing about Lewiston is we have a long history of trauma and sadness that kind of runs through that city. It just is. And homelessness, back in the 90s, if you were an adult homeless person, you would go to Portland for services. In Lewiston, all people would come to Lewiston, like teenage kids. So there's so many rural towns like Buckfield and Turner and Sabattis. So if you're in an abusive situation, you would come to Lewiston because there's a community of homeless people and services. This has always been that way. Lewiston's been a town of vice forever. It just has been. So where there's vice, there's sex trafficking and drugs and things like that. And these kids came into the town. There was a lot of flop houses. There was a lot of empty mills. So there was a lot of places for them to sleep. So there's just a community of homeless teenage kids. My mother, working at the hospital, would just every night they're dealing with abortions and they're dealing with girls coming in with just horrible situations. So I learned right there, here's a need, here's a specific group of people who are struggling. So what do? You create systems to help these people. To help create a place called Norwich House, which was in downtown Lewiston. And it was for young girls who wanted to keep their babies. And street girls. And it's one of these things where if you are a kid who grows up abused, you don't even know what love is or understand that. So that baby inside your stomach is they think it's the key to their love and happiness and connection. And, but if you're raising that baby or having that baby in a flop house or in a dirty mill, the chances of having something bad happen is very high. So Norwich House was created in the early 90s to give girls an opportunity to go and do this. Once again, I'm just a teenage kid, so I'm not even understanding what my mom is doing. All I know is that because I'm so big and so kind of passive in this shelter situation, I'm the only guy that comes in when they need a refrigerator moved. Here's 16-year-old BJ coming in, move refrigerator and do that kind of stuff. So I'm seeing these girls, I'm meeting these girls. And it's funny because sometimes guys will a whole shelter full of teenage girls. But even in that time, I know these aren't girls who I would have a crush on in my science class. These girls have been through so much already. And in my yoga study, I know now, but I didn't know this at the time, but all these young people are just young people with broken root chakras. They have no ability of safety, security, understanding of how to get that, how to lead this. And it was just very eye-opening to me at that time. But not I'm going to spend my whole life doing this. But it was already, what I don't realize, that all my life, my mom has kind of been training me. So she kind of led us into this. My mom knew when she brought me to that shelter what I was going to see. She kind of led our hands into the darkness so we would have an understanding of that. Me, my brother, and my sister, all in different times. We had to do volunteering, candy striping. So I don't realize it, but my whole life, I'm almost in training for what my passion's going to be. So I get out of high school. I don't know what I want to do with my life. And I feel this overwhelming passion I want to serve. I just want to serve. I don't know in what capacity, but like I said, my whole life I just had this wanting to serve. I didn't want to do the military just because I just don't want to hurt anybody. I didn't think I wanted to get into the ministry just because I just didn't have that connection. So it's interesting. I think if I was a kid today, I could see myself like being Antifa. I could see myself if someone just would have came into my life and put me in the wrong direction, I would have taken all this passion I have and it would have gone the wrong direction. But it didn't work that way because the universe loves me. And it just brought beautiful people into my life. And one of these beautiful people was a man named Bob Rowe. I don't mean to cry about these things, but I don't talk about it very often. But Bob Rowe, in my mind, is a hero. And a lot of people I'll talk about today are kind of like invisible sons, where they are people in your community that like change the lives of thousands of people, but you'll never hear about them. They don't run for political office. They're not trying to like make it a money thing. They have a passion to help people too. And they create these beautiful programs. So a man named Bob Rowe, who was really my first mentor, is the executive director, he was until 2016, of a program called New Beginnings, which is a beautiful nonprofit in Lewiston, Maine, that focuses on helping teenage kids find something, a path in their lives. And they've been doing it since the 1970s. So when you're raising money or trying to help teenage kids, it's the lowest group it's almost impossible to find money for people to give money to homeless kids, the attention, just like, oh, they're kids, or they're just those damn teenage kids. It's a tremendously hard group to advocate for. I'm sorry, I don't mean to ramble if I'm rambling too much about this, but anyways, at 18 years old or 17 years old, I'm kind of in the mix of what am I going to do with my life? This man, Bob Rowe, came into my life. I was helping to get services at this program because I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. And he brought me into the shelter program. So they have a shelter program that's still there. They have a outreach program that's downtown Lewiston. And they have an independent program for kids that afterwards to kind of give them apartments. And once again, they've been doing this since the 1970s, helping this population. They run $20,000 in debt every single year. They hold it together with duct tape, but this program is beautiful. And Bob Rowe just saw a talent in me, and he put me to work at their drop-in center in downtown Lewiston. And at first, I kind of was not like a bouncer, but like I felt like there's a lot of fights, and there's a lot of these kids coming in. It was like a day program. It was open from like 2 to 6, and kids can come in, get some food, get some clean clothes, get condoms, whatever they need for their life. And I ran this little place at 18 years old. I'm like literally the same age as these kids. And because I knew the girls at my mom's shelter, all these kids accepted me as somebody who could help them. And it was just an amazing job and an amazing time in my life. And I kind of knew what I was going to do. And once I got into that, the ball started rolling. Bob kind of helped me become an advocate. So I would go to Augusta. I would advocate for homeless rights. By 19, I'm on the board of directors of New Beginnings, a major nonprofit. I'm meeting people. I'm meeting politicians. I'm kind of understanding how the system works. At that time, it's the 1990s. Bill Clinton is president. And they have a brand new program called AmeriCorps, NCCC Vista program. It is still to this day one of the greatest programs our government ever did. It got shut down by George Bush and really got hammered a couple of months ago by Trump. But it was a domestic Peace Corps for young people like me who are idealistic and want to go help save the world. And it was a program well funded by Bill Clinton where you have programs in states where people go into communities and just help communities. And you earn money for college. And so I got accepted to a program called the Blaine House Service Corps. So that's Maine's version of AmeriCorps, run by a beautiful woman named Sandy Goss, who's still doing amazing work in Lewiston, Auburn. And the program was revolutionary in juvenile justice, where kids would get arrested for drugs, smoking cigarettes, whatever it is. They come to the court system, and they get, instead of getting sent to the juvenile jail or getting fined for these families who couldn't afford fines in the first place, we were offered them to go into and do volunteer work in the community. So we had like 100 different nonprofits, and we would take these young people. So no, we're only in our 20s. It's a group of 15 of us. Everyone's young. We're all idealistic. We're all having nice uniforms. We had a beautiful van. And it was awesome. It was like rock and roll social work. And we would have these kids, these very tough kids that would come in who got busted for stuff. They would come with us, but they would think we're cool because we're young too. And we would go out and we would do amazing stuff in the community. We'd build playgrounds. We would work at horse farms. And we're exposing these kids who got in trouble for smoking. And now they feel like they're being punished. But now they're coming and hanging out with all these young people doing positive stuff in their community. It's impactful to them. And then when they finished their time, they came back and they would come and volunteer and become AmeriCorps volunteers too. It was just a beautiful way of helping people and just a really exciting part of my life. And it was just awesome. And I had exposure to so many nonprofits at the time. So I'm 23 years old. I accepted to the national program. So it was just the Blaine House program, but even a big national level. And if you were someone who wants to help the community and help the world, this was just such an amazing program. I mean, thousands and thousands of young people. We went all over the country doing amazing stuff. And you're very hard-pressed to find anyone in the nonprofit world at a high level who doesn't have AmeriCorps Vista on their resume. It's just, there's thousands of us out there who still are out there trying to do the best we can. It was just an amazing program. I really wish it didn't get cut. 9/11 really killed that program, and the war just sliced it all. And then, like I said, Trump just kind of killed it a couple months ago. Whatever was left of it, the VISTA programs that were just doing amazing work in your community. But anyways, I came back from that program, and I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I kind of wanted to leave. I was 23 years old. I didn't know if I wanted to stay in the nonprofit world anymore. Not a lot of money living in this world. And so it's funny, I was thinking about going to be a Maine guide, and I was thinking about all these stuff. I was like 23 years old, and I was dating a girl at the time, and she worked at a place called Spurwink, which was a big program for kids who are like wards of the state. Mom and dad have drug issues. They come, the state has to take these kids in. They have programs all over the place. And they had a job for a residential like rec director. And I'm like, well, maybe I'll come and I'll do this for the summer, and then I'll go get my Maine guide license and get out of the nonprofit world. And I get this job, and remember, like for the last 6-7 years, I've been working with teenage kids, and even when I was at New Beginnings and at AmeriCorps, so I'm working with really like tough teenage kids. And I come to Spurwink, and it's all little kids, all like 6, 8, 9. And so I get sent to this first house, and it's in Auburn, Maine. It's called Garfield House. And I drive up, and they have this big, beautiful house with a big, beautiful porch. And there's 3 little kids out there, cute as buttons. And these house parents, once again, invisible sons of the nonprofit world, these people who come and run these little residential homes for kids. A lot of them are young couples who are like, you'll get free rent and you'll get free car and a free like food, but you have to come and work with these children. It's an amazing job. And but anyways, so I go to get this job, and the first 3 days of this job, I'm really connecting with this one kid. We'll call him Tommy. His name wasn't Tommy. We'll call him Tommy. And everyone there kept on warning me about this kid, like, oh, you got to watch out for this Tommy kid. He's like, he can really blow up. But the first 3 days, like, I'm sitting on activities, and we're playing sorry and football outside. And I'm just thinking, man, this job is easy. I'll do this for the summer. And one night we're all having dinner, and this little kid is having French fries with ketchup, and he wants more ketchup. He has a little lisp, and he's like, oh, can I have more ketchup? And the house parents are like, you've had too much ketchup already. And we're all sitting there, and this little boy's face, like 8 years old, a cute, like a cover of a cereal box, kind of cute. And he just sits there for a second, and you could see something pass over his face. And he just takes this table that must have weighed 200 pounds, big oak table, and flipped this table right in front of me. And I'm looking around now. Now I'm noticing that everything in this house is like heavy, like dorm room furniture. I'm like, oh. And I'm starting to kind of see what's happening. The kids who were there, they grab their food and they go into their rooms. The house parents are cool as cucumbers. We call therapeutic holds at the time. They grab the kid, they put him down on the ground. He's screaming and yelling, and just the words coming out of his mouth are just like a demon. It was crazy. And the house parents go, can you grab his feet and secure him? So all I'm doing, grabbing his feet. And this boy turns around and he goes, BJ, He looks right at me and he goes, "Are you going to be here tonight to do the sleepover?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "I'm going to slit your effing throat." This is like an 8-year-old little boy. I'm just like, I couldn't believe it. And just as quickly as it started, it stops. And he calms down and he goes in his room and he's just like, "Oh, I can't wait to see you tomorrow. We'll play football." And I remember I go outside in the house parents and it's just wonderful. And I'm only 23. These people are only like 27. And we smoked cigarettes at the time. And I remember I'm like, "Oh my God, I can't believe what just happened." And these house parents, they could have said anything at this time. They could have said, "Oh, screw that. These kids were horrible. This place is horrible." They did. They looked right at me and they were like, "You have no idea what these children have dealt with and what the worlds they came into." And they sat me down and had all these files. This is before the computers. Everything's handwritten, these notes, just 6 years of handwritten therapy notes. And they go, "Read this, just read these." So that night, I just flipped through these books. And it's still today, it's unfathomable. It's unfathomable what these little 8-year-old boy had to go through already in his life. Like literally, by the time he came out of his mother's womb, the people who were supposed to love him and take care of him did nothing but hurt this little boy. And I just remember sitting there, and I just remember, once again, the universe is always talking to me. And the universe is like, "This is where you need to be. This is where you need to be." And for the next 10 years of my life, we built the greatest residential homes that you would ever see. I'm tremendously proud of the 10 years. We revolutionized how residential work was done at Spurwink, from taking teenage boys, mainstreaming them into high school, following those kids, creating a continuum of care. So instead of that kid being 8 years old and bouncing from program to program, no, he's going to stay at Spurwink. We're going to run right through till he's 17 years old. He's going to have the same staff. Where our goal is to make sure that he is getting into the community and experiencing life as much as he can possibly do. We cannot have these kids going through that they're victims of their whole life. It just, everything kind of opened up and I knew what I wanted to do. And we ran beautiful programs and I had beautiful people I worked with. One is Jake Langlois and Allison Langlois, who were house parents, like I said before, these young couple. Jake is now the superintendent of Lewiston school systems. But we just got all these young people as mainstreamed as possible. Because what's happening at the end of these kids staying in these programs is they turn 18 years old, they've been highly medicated their entire lives, Adderall, whatever drugs to keep them sedated, calm. They hit 18 years old and they're literally released into the world. And if you look at the percentage of people walking the streets of Portland, homelessness in Lewiston, if you look in their backgrounds, most of them are kids who grew up in the system and they get released into the world and they have nothing. If you and me became homeless, I'm sure you have sisters or brothers or cousins or friends who would help you. These people have nothing and they get released into the world. So as I'm running these programs, my mind is always thinking about that. What's next? And it's almost the universe saying, your next art is going to be creating a program to help these kids transition out and create lives for themselves. So because the universe loves me, after 10 years of doing that work and cultivating all these beautiful people who we work with that could continue my work and what we built there, it was time to move on. And I went to Port Resources and they offered me the opportunity that I've been waiting for 15 years and truly what I thought my whole life was building to. And that was to create a program from scratch that had never been created before. And that was AIM, Achieving Independence in Maine, which was for a brand new up and coming wave that no one even saw, which was high functioning autism. I remember being in a meeting with clinicians and they brought up the word Asperger's for the first time and no one knew what it was. A year later, we were flooded with autistic young adults. It's really because of the internet and families kind of finding each other and creating a community. And next thing you know, there's a flood of them. At Spurwink, we had so many clients and we were doing so many very physical holds that about art. There was beautiful work being done at Syracuse University at the time about autism. And one of the work was about colors and using colors to soothe. So the first thing we did at Spurwink was change all the colors of all the houses inside interior-wise, and it dropped therapeutic holds by 20%, like in the first month. These were just little things we did. So when I got brought over to Port Resources, they were like, listen, we're having a lot of young autistic people. We want to create a program for that we can have young people come in, learn skills, and get into the world. At that time, Syracuse University is doing beautiful work on this. There's also a wonderful woman named Temple Grandin, who is literally like the godmother of autism. And both of them, these people are kind of focusing on the same thing, is how do we mainstream high-functioning autistic people into the community, get them working, get them living. Statistically, if kids who go to high school have good moms and dads, they have autism, they go to school, they get their high school degrees, and then when their friends go off to college or the workforce, they stay home with mom and dad the rest of their lives. Statistically, if you're home with mom and dad after the age of 25, there's a good chance you're going to live there for a long time. And then there comes a time when you're 45 and your parents are now 60s or 70s, and now they're going to the end of their lives. And now what do you do with this 50-year-old person who's never had a chance to live independently? That was the mindset of what I wanted to create. And we created a great team. We had a great therapist named Colin Copeland, who was just really, you have to be a ballsy therapist if you're going to try to think outside the box. We had a wonderful state representative named Donnie Carroll from Brand New Gloucester, who was kind of our money man and kind of our PR guy. And then you had me, who kind of created and built the system. And I remember thinking we weren't going to get anybody. And now our list is, we have a 3-year waiting list at that program now. And we've gotten young people living all over the city, living independent lives. And it's just an absolutely beautiful thing to see someone come in scared, leaving the nest. They come into this apartment. There's 6 units. They share with another roommate. They learn how to bond with other people. They learn just these little skills of going to the grocery stores, trying to find what their talents in the world are, creating independence, confidence. And then when they're ready, it's a 2-year program, living in the program, but it could be anywhere from 2 to 5. When they're ready to be released, we'll find them apartments, and they just, like a kid learning how to ride a bike, we're holding that seat until they're ready to let go. And then we let go and they live their lives. And now we have so many people living in the community. Now their friends, the community has built. So now we have so many people kind of living that friends can go over to friends' apartments and hang out. It's just an absolutely beautiful thing to see. And part of the program is I want kids from good households. I want kids who grew up in Spurwink and Sweetser. I want everyone to have the opportunity to come and just have a chance at independence. And that doesn't mean that every kid is going to be successful. Some kids aren't ready for that moment. But what we do is give opportunities and chances. And like I said, we've been building for 15 years, and it was a culmination of 15 years prior, everything, working with those homeless kids, working how to work as a team, working how to build those residential homes, working on how to inspire young people to get out into the world. Everything was built. The universe set everything up for me. So when I had this moment, we could just build it. It's been beautiful. It's been really, really beautiful. So I'm sorry, I've been rambling a lot. I don't even know about the time here, so I apologize.
We are just about at the end of the time.
Oh, Lord Almighty, I apologize. I started
rambling
there.
Not a problem at all. But I did want people to also know that you have this background as not only an artist, but also as a comic. You're also a certified yoga instructor.
Yeah.
I mean, you have this very varied background. And I guess I'm wondering if part of these things, part of what your life has been is, in 2018, you were named the Central Maine Comic of the Year,
Yeah.
and you're also the 2017 Longfellow Maine Comedy Festival. So this idea that you're witnessing all these very tragic things, and you keep day after day after day stepping into this very significant reality that involves trauma for many, but you're bringing with you, the tools that keep you strong and sort of this mindset of really, I guess, again, uplifting that is important.
My wife helped me with that. So, before my wife, everything was about building the programs. It was my single focus. Not that I can't. When I get home from work, I still love to do beautiful things, and I love to dance, and I love to, have a good time with my friends. But as far as art, when my wife came into my life, she helped me compartmentalize so I can go to work and I can give my full passion to that. And then I can go and I can come home and I can give my full passion to my wife and our relationship. But that passion's built because I can have time to do my art. Comedy was a wonderful thing. I did it for 10 years, but I'm not an artist who starts working on one piece of art and I'm going to stick to that field the rest of my life. Comedy was fantastic. I stepped into that world. I liked the people in it. I love to tell these stories about my youth. I wasn't a knock or political joke. I just told stories about my youth and my work and love stories. It was much more of a spoken word kind of storytelling. And I loved that. And I was separated from other comics because everything I did was positive and about love, And if you ever go to a comedy show, it's kind of rough sometimes. But people really connected with it. It's an interesting art. It's nothing that I would want to do. It was a perfect time in my late 30s to experience that. But it's an interesting art because it's like a fix. You go up there, it's a lot of buildup. You go on stage, and if you kill it, it feels so good. But then there is the downside of it. So it's just like as soon as you get off stage, it's that right back to it's ups and downs of it, which I don't tend to like. I grew up in the 90s and the early days where you just did art, not to show, but art just to do art. So funny, when I was growing up, people didn't show their art. It was much more like, we live in the world where I feel bad for young artists because I think if you find yourself and you're a good artist and you do something at the beginning stages and then you put it on Instagram or something, and then you don't get the response that you want, then people will go, well, maybe this isn't what I want to do. Where what you should do is just not show anybody and just continue to work on that and work on that skill. And the more you do, the more you'll master it. I'll tell you just quickly one story about art and how art works in my life in the universe. So because I am so secure the universe loves me, that when it tells me things, I just listen to it. So just like most artists, I had a dream one night about a shape. I'm not much of a mathematical person, but I had a dream about a certain shape. And in that shape, it was on top of a coffee table. So I wake up that next morning and I know instinctually that I'm going to build this coffee table. I just know it. I'm just waiting for the universe to give me the tools. So 2 days later, I'm driving my truck down the road, and on the end of the road, I see a nasty, big, old coffee table that's being given away. So I back the truck up, throw it in the back, bring it to my shed, and I go to Goodwill, and I find some old plates. They just happen to have all these cool gold old plates. So I bring it to the house. I buy Mod Podge, whatever you need to make like a cool mosaic table. And now the juices are flowing. Like, this is my artistic feeling. I feel it. So I get to my shed, and I start to art. I do everything. I have my music on. I'm playing some Bob Seger. I've got a 6-pack of Heineken, maybe a joint or something, and I just go to art. And for the next hours, I'm doing all these things, and I'm doing it. And, down on Main Street, Bob Seger's playing. I got my tongue out. I'm working on these little projects as I'm building this piece. And I love that. I love building something and I see it come to fruition as I'm working on it. To me, that is art. That is like I have something in my mind. I'm using my hands. I'm building it. It's coming together. And I get to the final part. It's all done. I have everything set in place. All I have to do now is put like a nice bar top on it, and it's going to be perfect. So I have it all set up. It looks beautiful. I lay that bar top on top. It's like a liquid. And it's just perfect. And I'm sitting back and I'm looking at this. It's been 2 days worth of work. And it's like, oh my God, this is gorgeous. This is going to be absolutely gorgeous. So anyways, it takes 24 hours to set. I go inside and every few hours I'm popping out to kind of check on the piece. All excited about it. That next morning I wake up. I'm all excited. I put on my pants. I go outside and I open the door and that piece is sitting right there. But there's some kind of gray blob on top of it. I'm like, what? What is that? And I look, and somehow in the night, a little mouse jumped on that table and went and died right on the middle of this table. So I'm like, oh my God, all this work. I'm like, oh my God, oh my God. So I grab a paint scraper and I'm like, it's got to come off. And I'm doing it. His guts are coming out. I'm like, oh my God. My cat comes out. He's getting on the table now. I'm just having a total meltdown. I'm like, oh my God, all this work, it's all ruined. So just, having a pity party, I had to throw the whole thing away, just depressed about it. So as the years go on, I tell this story. And of course, as the story goes, I exaggerate a little bit and it gets bigger and bigger. And the story is just about how you work so hard, but sometimes things come along and just kind of mess it all up. And so I told the story and people seemed to enjoy that story. So when I went to go do comedy, what do? I bring that story to the stage. And now I'm winning awards for that story. And now I think, well, what was the art? Was the art the table? Was the art the experience and the story that leads to me now telling the story? But I think it's everything. It's everything. It's the thought I had that night about that image. It's the fact that table came to me. It's the fact that I took time to build that, enjoy the process of it. It's the story I learned from that mouse climbing on that table and his poor little, the way his little life ended. And then the fact that I can take that, turn it, and bring it to a stage and bring enjoyment to people as they hear that story. That is art to me. And through all that, I created, I learned, I got to share. And to me, that is art. That is art. And I don't care if it's making that table or if it's building a residential home for children or if it's, hanging out with my wife on a Saturday night. Like that art is my life. And because the universe loves me, that art comes very naturally from me. So, yeah.
I'm not sure if I exactly appreciate the story because I'm still feeling badly for the mouse.
I know.
However, it's a great overall kind of narrative arc. So we'll go with that.
Yes.
But I truly appreciate your coming out here
no problem.
and
Thank you.
talking to me about your really interesting life and your background and how you got to be doing the work that you're doing with achieving independence in Maine, Port Place. And
can I hype one thing before we go?
Absolutely.
I have my little card here. So we at Port Resources have been around since 1970. We work with people with disabilities, physical disabilities, developmental disabilities. We were one of the first agencies to take people out of the institutional system, bring them into the residential world, work on mainstreaming, which is just very important. And we run a beautiful program with residential houses all over the state, including my program AIM. Another program we run is, once again, if you are going to be in the nonprofit world, the field is always changing. And now we have older people with disabilities who would have passed away in their 30s. But now with medical advancements, people with Down syndromes can live to their 60s or 70s now. So this whole aging population we've never seen before is coming of age, including early Alzheimer's, and things such as that with our clients. So we run a beautiful program called Port Place. It's a day program that runs Monday through Friday. And it's a place where caregivers and other people can get a little bit of relief, where they can bring their clients, bring people. We have elderly clients where the whole program is based on art. They come, they can work on art. It's a beautiful place where you have staff that can listen and take care and work with that specific population. And we're having a fundraiser, an art fundraiser called the Art of Belonging. And this is for the community too. So our clients make art. And if anyone who's listening who wants to contribute their art, it's a 50-50 split. If your art gets sold, you can bring your paintings to Port Resources from November 1st and November 15th. And the showing is at the Baradoff Auction House at 312 Garnett Drive in South Portland. And that's from December 2nd to the 5th. And all the profits go to running our program and giving great lives to our clients. So if you're an artist out there and want to contribute some of your work, please look for Port Resources, or you can look me up at billyjackyoga@gmail.com. And that's it.
Appreciate your sharing that message. So anybody who's interested in taking part in that wonderful fundraiser and supporting the community that way, please take the time to look up Billy Jack at the numbers, at the information that he provided. Otherwise, I feel certain that if you come to a Thursday night Portland Art Gallery opening, the first Thursday of every month, there's a pretty high percentage that you'll meet Billy Jack there. And you can actually pretty easily start a conversation about his really great work that he's doing in the nonprofit world, including as the program leader with Port Resources, Achieving Independence in Maine at the Port Place. I'm Dr. Lisa Belisle. You've been listening to or watching Radio Maine, where we celebrate creativity and the human spirit, and we are sponsored by the Portland Art Gallery in Portland, Maine. I've been speaking with Billy Jack Goodwin. Such a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you.